Welcome to the top of the world. Welcome to the channel. A mechanical video. Back to back, Simon. Why are you doing that? Why don't make this shit up? This shit makes me. So, what comes through the door is what gets done. Now, we just done that rotavator. Interestingly enough, what I didn't realise, but I know now, is the friend I was doing it for, his father bought that in 1972. And it's never been serviced. So that's the first time in 1972. Well, now there's something to be said for Briggs and Stratton. Is this a Briggs and Stratton? Probably not. No, it ain't. It's unknown. Oh, there's actually a plate on it. Maybe the plate says something. Anyway, so the same man came to see me yesterday and said, could I go with my tractor and push his snow back because he's in a bind, he wants to get his car out and he can't. Anyway, everything was in a mess. Why was it in a mess? Well, he said this was broken. He said the chains had come slack and loose and they were jumping over the cogs. Okay, I have an issue with that. I didn't say nothing. It's just the way chains and cogs are designed, they can be pretty loose before they actually start jumping over. And the way they're designed with the pull on them in one direction, usually they catch. Even when they're loose, they will still catch. Anyway, I suspect it's not a chain. I'm going to get you in here and show you the workings of this. But this is a snowblower. And I know it don't look like a snowblower because it's stood up, but it is. And he says he bought this in... Well, he says 2010. Anyway, of course, it's a generic make. The company, the shop, nobody like that exists anymore. But it's just metal and chains. I'm a bit surprised he hasn't tried to fix this himself, because he's a career welder and a really good engineer. I mean, a really good engineer. However, do you know, it's an age thing. It's definitely an age thing. He fell recently, unbeknown to me. He didn't tell me, and he's hurt his hip. He's hurt his good hip, I think, and he's black and blue. And anyway, and now he ain't got a. How he got this up? His drive goes uphill. I have to put the pellets. Anyway, it's a steep drive for somewhere like this. How he got this up to clear, I don't know. Anyway, it don't drive anymore. So we're going to dig into this and find out. But I just found some really interesting things about this I've never seen before. I'm going to get you in here and show you the workings, and I'm going to show you what I just found the end of the wheels, because the first thing I've got to do is take the wheels off. Strange. Alright, so before we go digging into that bit, on the end of the wheels, what is all this going on here? I've never seen anything like that. I don't know what all that is. Anyway, we'll work it out. I'm assuming we just take that nut and bolt out, and whatever all this doesn't do anything until we put it off. We'll see. Now, how does this work? Right. This belt here, this wheel here, and these two belts are driven off the main shaft of the engine, and they operate the main snow chomping, throw-in bits. And then above that is a drive wheel. And this belt is also connected to the engine and geared accordingly. And this spins all the time. And this is the engagement wheel. And this engages with that wheel. Right, and it turns this lower shaft, which in turn turns a cog on there. And this chain comes up here and it's connected to this shaft, which in turn turns a cog on there and is connected to this shaft and turns the actual wheels. Right, so that's going backwards. So let's pretend we're going forwards. Right, and you can see how loose those chains are there. Right, that shouldn't look like that. So something's worn, because there's no chain adjusters on this. And we can see how loose. Right, look how loose all that gearing is in there. However, I'm not convinced any of those chains are jumping any of the cogs. I'm just not convinced. So we're going to take it apart. We're going to... Oh, let me explain how this works. Right, so this gearing is in neutral. So at the moment it's in neutral. So this is in the centre of the wheel. Right, and it's not touching. So in order to make that drive, this disc here lifts up and engages with that wheel. But in order for that wheel to do something, it has to be movable on this disc. So at the moment it's in neutral, and you'll see if I go through the speeds, right, the further I go through the speeds, 2, 3, 4, 5, the more that wheel moves out. So now it's on the edge of the disc where it's going to be spinning its fastest. And then similarly in reverse, right, to make it go backwards, let's go back to neutral. To make it go backwards, it goes in the opposite direction. Reverse. And then to engage it, when you pull the lever, it lifts this up here on this wire and engages on that wheel. Okay? Disengaged, engaged, disengaged, engaged. And then that wheel moves out for the different speeds. None of that's the problem. That all is working. The problem is when you put it in gear, right, it makes this click, 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 click noise, and it no longer drives in forward or reverse, which tells me it's unlikely the chain. It's unlikely to be this cog because this has got a pin going all the way through this axle. However, I'm not sure that's the case on the other cogs. So we're going to strip this down. I think it's more likely, if I had to guess, I'd say this lower cog there is somehow turning on the spline. I don't know how, but that's the whole point of taking it apart, because it's no good like it is. And it's so heavy I can hardly pull it, so he's got no chance. All the play is on this bar here. So we're going to remove that bar. And see what's occurring with that. I also know there is a spacer on this end. Oh, which we don't want to lose. Spacer. Okay. Now we should be able to withdraw that bar. Oh. Ah. It's warm. Well, there's your problem. All right. Badly worn and bent. You can see it's got a slight bend to it, and it's also completely worn underneath there. Bent and worn. So, if I had a problem like this and I needed this bar repaired, right, I'd actually take it to the very man who owns this machine, because he's the best engineer there is. And he should be able to fill that with weld, put it on his lathe, and lathe it back down, and he may even be able to straighten that. So, that's where the problem lies. We're going to take this to him and see if he can put that right. Right, I'm going to try and shortcut the process by not taking out the main drive axle. Is that likely to bite me? I don't know. So, wow. Let me wipe that off. Maybe maybe it was jumping the cogs. Look at this. Look at the shape of that. They're not supposed to look like that. "24 hours later." It's hard to see. No bend. And then you can see he's filled it with weld and ground it down. His lathe was broken. I thought he'd put it in his lathe. So the wear's all out of it and it's straight. So we can reassemble this. Everything put back together. And I've got to put that spacer on the back and make sure the chains are on the cogs properly. I can see that chain's not on that cog. Chains on cogs. Right. Now we've got to get a split pin in there. There's not an awful lot of room to get one in there. Anyway. So we put a new one in, and I think this is the right size, but it's tight getting it in. Very tight getting it in. I don't know why it's so tight to get it in, quite honestly. Still got play in it, mate. Okay, once that together, I think it's a case of putting some grease in that and putting the wheels on. That chain is not curling up like it was. Right, it's still not the best, but it's not doing what it was, and the grease has all come out of there. So I'm hoping that's done enough to get him through this season, and then in the summer we'll take it apart and see if we can't order one of those new cogs up, or take it off and he can weld it and, you know, do with it like he can. But he did just say to me 5 minutes ago that steel bar is just the cheapest, nastiest steel that you can work with, and I'm sure if his lathe was working he just would have turned a new one and be done with it. Anyway, I suppose we have to try it now. Never occurred to me to find out how this works. Oh, it's got an electric start. Oh, that's a plug-in start. Right. Choke it key. Throttle. Loaded. Let's get his other machine and deliver that back at the same time. Right, they're both these machines fixed and working. I'll take both of those back there now, and the parts for the rotavator obviously I've got taped on there, and the part for the snowblower he fixed himself anyway, you know, the bar. So that's that. That's another one done. Mechanical videos. Don't forget, if you like the content, give it a thumbs up. I know I'm on the right track, although the one on the rotavator, I must admit, didn't do too well. And if you want to see more content, varied as it is, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for joining me. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.